Hi, Anna Carson here. How are you? Just give me a minute. I'm just going to lift my computer up. Actually, it's a bit low. There we go. That's better. Hi, how are you? I wanted to come on today and talk about our role as activators. So many of us are activators, meaning that we activate when we talk, we activate other people when we talk, we activate people through our frequency, we activate people through I work through people through my hands, and I activate people through my work. And I'm personally, I'm very conscious of this role, and it's actually one of the parts that comes up in my gene key. So it's a very dominant part of who I am and what my role here, I guess. And some people will also have that, but a lot of people won't recognize how much they are also activating through their conversations and stuff. And I wanted to talk about this because I think it's really important for us to be aware that we can do this, that we do this, and to be responsible for it as well, and take it's not so much control, but it's being able to consciously use it when it's coming through. So I know, there's often conversations that I'm having, and I will, it can just be a normal conversation, and then suddenly think your energy starts to build, and I start to feel there's a bit of channeling coming in, but not not kind of it's just being aware that I am being guided to say stuff. There's often a build up in energy within my body. I can be aware of the other person's body as well, and start to feel how that's activating. And the words and stuff are generally, not what I would be kind of thinking about saying or something. It's not like completely out there, but it's often like, oh, okay, I'm not sure why I'm saying this, but this is what's coming through. And this is when I know that there's an activation happening. There's a reason that I'm saying it. And I know myself that I activate people, I activate places, I activate projects, grid lines, templates, all of the stuff. Like I said, this is quite a dominant part of my gene keys. And so it's a role that I play in many, many different ways. And I activate through my hands. You'll see that I use my hands a lot of energy. Some people say that, wow, I can't stop looking at your hands. It's because they're receiving something from it. Even though I'm not consciously doing anything, they're receiving something from it. And the reason that it's important for us to be aware of when this is happening, and it'll be, obviously in work, where a lot of practitioners are activating things. So part of my job as a kinesiologist is to clear stuff, to really, to clear the way to identify trauma and fears and all of those sorts of things. But then the other side of it is to then activate that soul potential, activate the path, activate, their gifts, those sorts of things. And so practitioners, many practitioners are doing this. And so they'll be consciously aware of it, but it's more when it's happening in normal conversations that we have to be a little bit more aware of what's going on, aware when the energy is building, aware when there are words that are coming which we maybe wouldn't generally say, or conversations we're like, I'm not quite sure why I'm saying this, because we have to be responsible for the energy that we are bringing through, and be responsible for the impact that it is having. If we're not aware of that and the impact that it's having, we can just blurt stuff out. We can, just kind of, overwhelm people. We can just blast people with these activations and not be conscious of what we're doing. And I know that, certainly early on, I've done this, a number of times where I wasn't aware of what was happening. I was, and if the energy is really strong and it's taking me unawares, I can actually get almost manic with it. It's just like I'm talking really fastly, and and there's energy flying in, and and I'm just like, oh my goodness, like I've really, and you can just see kind of this like, oh my goodness, like they're getting blasted with this energy. And so, most of the time I've learned, okay, I know what's happening here. I try and just keep myself really grounded, really kind of connected myself, into the earth, into my own connection, making sure my energy is stable, and you're kind of regulated, because it is, when I'm not regulated, I had one experience, where I've actually walked into a doctor's appointment, and I'd been buzzing off something I'd just done, a live call, which had gone really well. I was kind of buzzing on that. My mind was a bit on that and a bit on the doctor's appointment. And then this energy started pouring through me. And I really wasn't kind of consciously aware of what was going on. And like I said, I absolutely blasted it. And it really wasn't fair for the receiver. I had to kind of go back and say, are you okay? I realized, what was going on. There was a lot of energy coming through, a lot of information coming through, and I didn't control it very well. I didn't manage that very well. And so this is why, like I said, it's so important to go, is this what's happening? Am I activating? And the beautiful thing of this is it's not just a one-way process. So I know that when I'm activating somebody or a place or grid lines or whatever it is that I'm being guided to activate, it is generally because there is also a key in it from me. I might not get it immediately. It might be the next time I visit or the next time I see them. But there will be, there's this a beautiful reciprocal kind of relationship. And often I really feel this, that we have made, I guess, a contract, or an agreement, before we come here. You're saying, you've got these keys, I've got these keys. We'll arrange to meet, at the right time, and the timing is right. We'll come together and we'll share these keys. I will share the activation that I have, and then their energy will shift and they will provide me an activation, and so it goes on. And so it's a really beautiful process. So knowing that we're not doing this, you're kind of like, oh, I'm the activator, that's it. It's not. There's always a beautiful reciprocal your play going on here. But as one, for me, knowing that it's often me that starts, I'm the instigator of a lot of this stuff. I'm an instigator in a lot of projects. I'm an instigator in various different ways. And so it is often me that starts the process. And so I have to be very aware and watch and be careful. And you kind of, I guess, monitor how that other person or how it's being received, to make sure that I'm not overwhelming and that I'm doing it in a way that is obviously respectful, because there's a lot of information, certainly for me, when it happens, a lot of information can come in, and I do I guess I become slightly discerning as to what I'm sharing. Not all of it needs to be shared, especially if I'm getting a huge download. Not all of it needs to be shared. I sometimes take the snippets out, like the main stuff, and I will just share that. So as not to overwhelm. And generally, if the other stuff that I've missed and decided not to share, if that is needed to be shared, then it'll either come back into my head at the time, or next time I see them, or next time that I'm doing whatever work I'm doing, it'll come back in again and go, actually, this was needed. And so it's just trusting that, but being very responsible. And I think that's a really, being responsible is such a key for all of this transition and all of this evolution that we're going through at the moment, is really, that radical self-responsibility for everything that we're doing, that we're saying, that we are participating in, everything, it's radical self-responsibility at the moment, knowing that we are the one that needs to be taking ownership of everything, whether it's money, whether it's our health, whether it's our interactions, our emotions, our triggers, our traumas, all of that self-responsibility. But and in this as well, taking responsibility for the information that is flowing through us, the work that's flowing through us, the frequency that is flowing through us, taking responsibility, really nurturing it, obviously making sure our channel is clear, all of those sorts of things, and then being very responsible in the interaction that happens to make sure that we're then not causing harm or causing overwhelm or triggers. And we may cause triggers, and that's sometimes that is part of the process. Unfortunately, is that there are things being triggered, but it's generally because that is part of the activation. But we need to be aware of that, and if we see that's triggering a lot, then we need to back off a little bit and say, okay, that looks like that's enough. And stop sharing or whatever's coming through, and allow that to process. And then bring the next part through. But I just feel that it's such an important part of so many of our roles here is to activate. We are constantly upgrading at the moment. The speed that we're doing it is so fast, and we're constantly upgrading. And so these upgrades come in so many different ways. Obviously it's coming through the energy that is piling through onto the planet. It's coming through Mother Earth, it's coming through nature, but it's coming through interactions, it's coming through videos, it's coming through sessions that we're having and that we are participating in. It's coming through, like say, through the land. I'm getting huge activations through the land. All of these things, it is coming at us in many, many different ways. And so if we know that we are part of that, then we can be responsible for it, understand what we're doing, especially when these interactions are happening. The ownership of it, I think, is really important. But because then we understand, this is how the universe is working through me. So it's a really beautiful thing to understand as well. So the universe is working through you. Yeah, I can see, and it may be that the activation happens right there and then, and you understand it, and you both acknowledge it. And that certainly happens in a lot of situations. But it can be, it can be days, weeks, months. I've had it years later where somebody's come to me and said, do you know what? Do you remember when you said this to me? And I was like, no, I'm sorry, I really don't. But they're like, that was such a huge part of my awakening, and so we don't always know when it's happening, and it can be years later, like I said, when we actually understand, okay. And generally, if they've come back into our lives and they, then it's time for another one, and that's what I find, is that people have said that I was such a huge part of my awakening process, and then we start talking more, and then there's another activation coming through, and then I'll often receive something from them at the same time. So it's a beautiful process. It's the way that the universe works. We all hold such unique frequencies, and we all have gifts to share, and it might not be through I guess the normal channel that we think, oh yeah, you're able to do this, or you're able to do that. It might just be through your frequency. It might just be through through the vibration that you hold, whether it's love, whether it's a galactic understanding, whatever it is. It might just be through that you're activating people. So be aware of it. Think about it. Does this happen to you? Do people come back and say, wow, okay, I really, something changed after you said that? Be aware of what you're saying, whether this is happening when you're receiving it as well. I go, oh wow, that was a real key for me there. Do I received this massive upgrade, or not this massive upgrade, but this activation, and you can feel something, things starting to shift. I'm a very clairsentient, so I feel a lot. I feel what's going on in my body. I feel when the energy is building, but I feel it also when other people are experiencing that or receiving something from me. I can feel the impact of it. So be aware of it, take responsibility for it, take it, own it, and use it responsibly as well, because it's, the more we do that, the more we can allow that activation to happen in a really, in a lot smoother way, in a way that is really in conjunction with your nervous system, with their nervous system, and it just allows a lot smoother process to happen. So yeah, it felt like a really important thing to talk around, because I think it's happening more and more and more, and a lot quicker as well, as we're receiving so many activations. So I'd love to hear your experience of it, how you receive activations, how you know that you pass them on, and the different ways that they come through. But I hope you found that helpful. And I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Right. Bye.